What if you could cheat death?
Yeah.
Like, really cheat death. Not just survive a crazy accident, but actually come back.
Yeah, like what would that even look like for society?
That's exactly what we're diving into today with Everlife by Donald Firesmith. It's a story that explores, well, a world where death is less of an ending and more like an inconvenience.
For those who can afford it.
Right. Exactly. It's not exactly a level playing field, even with immortality on the table.
It makes you wonder, like, how much would you even be willing to pay for another shot at life?
Right. It's a pretty hefty question, and Everlife dives right in.
Yeah.
So we're introduced to Alexis Huntington. She wakes up in her, well, mansion, feeling totally disoriented. There's this hazy memory, a sense of something being wrong, and her husband John is there by her side, telling her there was a car accident.
And she didn't exactly walk away from it, at least not in the traditional sense.
Yes, she had to be, resurrected.
Which, in this world, is apparently a thing, and it's going to make for some wild insurance claims, I bet.
Oh, absolutely. But here's the thing. This whole car crash situation, it's not Alexis's first rodeo.
Wait, what?
Turns out this was her third resurrection in just 6 months.
Third? Are you serious? That's, statistically speaking, that's pretty improbable.
You're telling me first it was a fall down the stairs.
Yeah.
Then there was that whole drowning incident that, well, let's just say raised a few eyebrows. And now this.
See, now you're making me think. Those aren't just coincidences, are they?
That's what I'm saying. And that's where our boy Jason Morgan comes in.
Right.
He's a fraud investigator for, get this, the new life insurance company.
Makes sense. You break it, you buy it. Right. Even if it is, death itself.
Pretty much. And 3 deaths in 6 months, even with resurrection tech, that's going to set off some major alarm bells.
Yeah, there's a line in the story that really captures that feeling. 3 times is enemy action. Gives me chills just thinking about it.
Me too. But here's the really messed up part. New York law, it hasn't quite caught up with the whole resurrection thing. So technically, none of these accidents are classified as murders, just attempts.
So you're telling me you can basically get away with attempted murder over and over again because, hey, they can just come back to life anyway.
It's a chilling thought, right? And it makes you wonder, in a world where you can basically live forever, what happens to things like justice and, basic human decency?
Seriously. And speaking of questionable characters, can we talk about Alexis's husband, John, for a second? The guy's giving off some majorly suspicious vibes. Working late, constantly, emotionally distant, dismissive of Alexis's concerns about almost,
Dying every other week.
Yeah, not exactly husband of the year material.
Total red flag. You have to wonder, in a world where you can essentially live forever, what does that do to relationships, to trust?
It's like, does the possibility of endless tomorrows make today's promises less meaningful?
Exactly. And that's where John's behavior starts to make you wonder, is he driven by greed? Is he after her inheritance? Or is it something even darker, something that puts Alexis directly in harm's way?
Ugh, I hate to say it, but those are the questions we're left with. Firesmith knows how to keep us on the edge of our seats.
And the thing is, Alexis, she's not just going to sit around and wait for answers, She starts digging, trying to figure out what John's really up to.
Good for her. It's like they always say, knowledge is power, especially when you're living in a world where death takes a vacation every other week.
Totally. And she stumbles across some seriously shady stuff. Offshore accounts, fake passports, the works. It's like the guy was planning to disappear.
Talk about adding insult to, attempted murder. It's like he's playing a whole other game on top of everything else.
Right. And to make matters even more complicated, there's Emma.
Yes. The mistress, who also happens to be the head of cybersecurity at John's company. Talk about a conflict of interest.
Right. You can't make this stuff up. It's like Firesmith reached into the darkest corners of corporate espionage and said, "Hold my beer."
And this is where the whole trust thing gets even more, twisted. You've got resurrection technology, which on the surface sounds amazing, right? But then you layer on the potential for betrayal, the manipulation, the fact that someone could be trying to kill you. And it's like, can you ever really know what someone's true motives are when death is basically a revolving door?
I mean, it makes you think, what would it be like to live in a world where that kind of suspicion, that kind of fear is just part of daily life? Would we all turn into paranoid shut-ins, or would we just become desensitized to it all?
It's a chilling thought, right? But back to Alexis, she decides to confront John.
Yeah, because why not? She's already died a few times. What's one more confrontation, right?
Well, about that, Firesmith really cranks up the tension in this scene. Imagine this. Alexis goes down to the garage to meet Jason, but guess who she finds instead?
John and Emma. Caught red-handed.
Exactly. And things get really, really fast. John, he starts going on about Alexis's supposed depression, even hinting that he could make her death look like a suicide.
Wow. Talk about adding insult to injury. It's like he's trying to erase her, not just physically, but emotionally, too.
It's messed up, right? And it shows how deeply unsettling this whole situation is. Like, what happens when death becomes just another tool for manipulation?
And then, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, Emma chimes in, suggesting that Alexis has become a liability that needs to be dealt with permanently.
Yeah, that's not ominous at all. It's like Firesmith wants us to confront our deepest feels about technology, about trust, about what it really means to be alive and, well, not dead.
So there's Alexis, stuck between a resurrected rock and a hard place. Right.
It's like something out of a nightmare, except this time there might not be a waking up from it.
And we can't forget about Jason. He's on his way to the mansion, got that uneasy feeling in his gut, Something's just not right.
And thank goodness for that gut feeling, right? Because he gets there just in time to witness quite the scene.
Oh, yeah. John's in full-on panic mode, shredding documents like his life depends on it, while Emma's standing guard over Alexis, gun in hand.
Talk about a tense situation. Firesmith doesn't hold back, that's for sure. It's like everything's been building to this moment, all the secrets, all the betrayals, all laid bare in that garage.
It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion, You know it's about to happen, but you can't tear your eyes away.
And let's not forget, Alexis has already died, 3 times already at this point? You got to wonder, how does that kind of experience change a person?
Right. Does it make you fearless? Or does it just make everything feel, less real?
It's a question Firesmith forces us to confront, especially with what happens next.
Because, of course, Jason, being the stand-up guy he is, bursts into that garage, guns blazing.
Talk about an entrance. And chaos erupts. Gunfire, shouting, the whole 9 yards. Jason gets wounded, but he manages to take down Emma.
It's like something out of an action movie, only with a whole lot more at stake. And just when you think it's over, Alexis, in a moment of pure instinct, grabs Emma's gun.
And shoots John. Just like that.
It's like this wave of shock. You're left reeling from everything that just happened. John and Emma are dead. Jason's wounded. And Alexis is just there, standing in the aftermath.
And that's where Firesmith leaves us with this chilling sense of ambiguity. Was it self-defense? Or did those multiple deaths, those resurrections, did they somehow change her perception of life and death?
It's a question that sticks with you, even after you finish the story. It's like, in a world where death is more of an inconvenience, a temporary setback, what does it really mean to take a life?
It's heavy stuff, man, but that's what makes Everlife so compelling, so thought-provoking. It forces us to confront these uncomfortable truths about ourselves, about the choices we might make when the rules of life and death are, rewritten.
And the ending? Oh, man, the ending just drives it all home.
Right. Jason, he makes this throwaway comment about not being able to authorize payment for John's resurrection.
And Alexis, in this chillingly calm voice, says, for some people, one life is more than enough.
Chills. Literal chills.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? In a world where we could potentially live forever, what would it really cost us? Our humanity, our compassion.
It's a question worth pondering, that's for sure.
It really is. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive into Donald Firesmith's Everlife. It's a story that stays with you, makes you question, makes you think.
It really does.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep those minds open, and remember, sometimes the most unsettling stories are the ones that hit closest to home.